Let us talk about a button. Whatever you just saw was done absolutely automatically with one click of a button. Right from the skin, to the eyes, to the backdrop, everything. If you're a photographer who wants to shoot more and spend no time retouching, or a commercial retoucher wanting to automate most of the process, this technique is for you. Check this out. All you gotta do is to play this action, which is complete auto retouch. That's it, just click once. That's all. So here, my friend, is the before, and this is the after. Let's go through it one by one. Again, here's the before, and here is the after. So first of all, it has automatically removed all of the blemishes. So if I turn that on, have a look, all of those minute blemishes are gone, and not just from the face, but from the body as well. By the way, if you do want to keep it, this is absolutely customizable. So let's say you want to keep some freckles right here. Just for the blemishes layer, click on the mask button right there, take the brush, black as the foreground color, and just paint on those areas if you want some back. Now on top of that, it has dodged and burned. Here's the before. Here's the after. Look at it. It has evened out the skin. Next, we have added some depth, some contouring, some highlighting. So before, after. Take a look at the depth. It has added some darkness right here to bring the face forward. It has added some contouring and highlighting on the face to just add more dimension. On top of that, we have also eye cleanup. If you zoom in, she doesn't have many veins in the eyes, but still, if you turn that on, have a look. They are gone. Here's the before. Here's the after. Even right here as well. There isn't much problem, but still, there was this small area. If you turn that on, automatically gone. On top of that, it has added some contrast on the eyes before, after. Now it is at 50%. If you want more, you can of course go ahead and increase it. On top of that, we have the skin tone. Now, if you look at this area, the tones are changing way too much. It's a little bit greenish as well. And this area, there is not much skin tone. So when you turn that on, have a look. So here's the before, and here is the after. Look at it. It has evened out this area before, after, and also this area didn't have much skin tone, so it has added some color into it. So here's the before, no color there, and here is the after. Now keep in mind, all of this is automatic. The results might not be as great as if you had spent hours manually doing it, but then again, we haven't spent hours. This was just one click. On top of that, it has automatically cleaned the backdrop as well. So here's the original as you see, and here is the after. Can you see the change? No. So if we create a curves adjustment layer and if we make the darks darker, you'll be able to look at it. So here is the before. As you can see, there were some unevenness there. And once we turn on the clean backdrop layer, take a look. All of that evened out. Now on top of that, it has automatically also tried to correct the fabric. But in this case, there were not too many folds in the cloth that we needed to remove. So it's not really needed. It has done very small, minute things before, after, but it is an automatic action for batch processing, and therefore it has to consider everything. On top, it has also sharpened the image. Now, this is an action that we had learned to create in this video. So if you want to learn the concept behind it, you can watch that later. So again, here's the before, and here is the after. Now keep in mind, it's modifiable if you want to. So there you go. Just by one click of a button, you don't even have to think much about it. Here's the before, and here is the after. Over the years, we have come across so many artificial intelligence technologies, starting from automatic blemish removal, automatic dodging and burning, cleaning the backdrop, improving the folds of a fabric. The list just goes on, right? What if you and I took the best of those technologies, figured out the perfect settings, the most optimum settings that work with a variety of images, and then we created a system where all we have to do is to drag and drop our series of images and it will automatically edit and export them. Wouldn't that be something? Now check this out. You don't even have to click a button. You do not even have to open Photoshop. Now here we have a series of photos, right? You can have thousands of photos right here. Here we have a folder called retouched exports. Now here's an interesting application here that we'll learn to create later. All you have to do is to drag a folder or series of images, select them all, drag it and drop it right here. You don't even have to have Photoshop open. It will automatically open up Photoshop and process all of those images for you. And there you go, my friend. Our images are ready inside of retouched exports. Let's check them out. So let's open them. All right, so this is the exported. Have a look at the skin. Have a look at the retouching. Have a look in the eyes, the windows to the soul. Amazing. Now, here's the next one. Here's the next one. All of them are retouched. In this case, have a look. The backdrop is cleaned as well. So on the left hand side, we have the before, and on the right hand side, we have the after. Have a look on the ground. It was so dirty. And look at the after. it has been improved. Look at the folds of the dress as well. That has been reduced too. Now, if this is something that you don't want, you can simply turn it off. If you look at the other images also, you would notice a change. So again, here's the before, here's the after. The backdrop is cleaned as well. So again, with this one, before, after, just look at the skin tone. So good, isn't it? Here's the before and here's the after. This one is cleaned as well. So this is game changing and you can test it yourself. In this video, we'll learn how to best use these actions. Of course, you'll be able to download them, and we'll also learn how to create our own drag and drop system. Before we begin, know that this method is only for you if you are a professional who generates an income from your photography or retouching work, and you're okay with investing that income to buy more time and therefore get more projects done and hence get more clients. If you are a beginner, I would recommend that you first understand all of those basic concepts, learn these techniques and practice them. So I cannot wait to share these techniques with you. So without any further ado, let's get started. Back in the magical world of Photoshop, and the plugins that we're going to use to create these actions are from Retouch for me. And that's what it exactly does. It retouches for you. I highly recommend it, and you actually don't have to believe me. Check the details in the description on how you can get an absolutely free trial, and then you can try your images and get a preview of how it processes them. Sounds fair? Let's get to the video and let's start with the process. The first step is always removing the blemishes, and for it, let's create a copy of the background layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J. Now on this duplicate, you can name this blemishes if you like, and then let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, and then Heal. Now it automatically removes all the blemishes for you. You can keep them if you like. Now you can control the sensitivity from the top as to how many blemishes you want to remove. If the sensitivity is low, the most prominent blemishes would be gone. If the sensitivity is high, all of them would be gone. And by the way, you might want to check Make Mask so that only the replaced blemishes show up right here. So if you look at this layer, only these areas show up. So here's the before, here's the after. Again, if you do want to keep the blemishes on image-to-image basis, you can just create a mask and just bring back some freckles or whatever blemishes you want. The next step is dodging and burning and evening out the skin. And for that, we're going to press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E. That creates a merged layer of everything that you see on the canvas right now. And you can name this Dodge and Burn. Then let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, and Retouch for me, Dodge and Burn. Again, it gives you a slider to control how much of it do you want. Right now, it's in the middle. You can increase it to the right-hand side. That way, it's absolutely soft. So right here for your automated system, you can choose what number works the best for most of your images. Also, how much of the softening do you really want? So for my action, I've just kept it at 100, but you can modify it according to your preference. So in this case, I'm going to keep it a little higher and hit apply. Now, it creates a soft light layer. If it didn't create that for you, you need to make sure that soft light layer is checked before applying. Creating a soft light layer, or in other words, a gray layer, gives you a lot of flexibility in editing that dodging and burning. Let's say you wanted to darken this area, you can just simply paint in black. By the way, don't forget to change the blend mode to soft light. Let's take a look right now. Here's the before and here is the after. It also dodged and burned the dress she's wearing, and in a positive way. The next step is adding dimension to the face, some contouring and highlighting. And for it again, we're going to press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E, and let's name this depth. Let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, and choose Portrait Volumes. So here's the before, here's the after. You can even go extreme, but this is going to be too much. So I'm going to keep it at 100 for now, and we can always decrease the opacity later. Make sure you check soft light layer right here. Hit OK. So that way you can see what it's doing. So right now it's brightening up these areas, darkening up these areas. All right. So let's change the blend mode from normal to soft light. There you go. Before, after. Now, of course, it is too much. So let us decrease the opacity to about 50. And that's what I've kept in the action. Now, after adding depth, how can we forget the windows to the soul? And that is the eyes. So we need to clean that up. And for it again, let's press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E. And this one, let's name it Eye Cleanup. Let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, and eye vessels. See all the veins in the eyes? All of it is gone. So here's the before, here is the after. Seems like such a minor change, but imagine how hard it is to automate it. I mean, you have to detect where the eyes are, and then you have to detect where those veins are, and then remove them. This is just a remarkable job. Now, of course, you can control how much of it do you want. So I usually keep it at 100 and just change the opacity later. Definitely, we want to make a mask. Hit apply. So what happens is only those areas that are replaced are shown. Now it's not 100% perfect. It also repairs some other areas as well. So if you look at it right now, it has replaced some areas at the top as well. Let's hope they improve it soon. I know as humans, we have this tendency of detecting faces in every places. Again, this is AI, so probably it's doing that on the hair. Now, after that, we need to add some contrast to the eyes. And for it, let's again press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E. And this time, let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, and Eye Brilliance. 100 is fine. Make Mask is checked. Hit Apply. There you go. Some awesome contrast. If you don't want much of it in the action, you can have it at about 60%, 50%. That's up to you. I'm going to keep it at about 50%. There are lots of ways of sharpening, but my favorite way of sharpening is by blurring it. If you want to know more about it, you can watch it in this video. Also in that video, we had created an action to do just that. So let's open up that action. And that was Sharpen action. If you want to download the sharpening action, check the links in the description. Also, it's available on the description of that video. Let's play it. And there you go. It is sharpened. So here's the before. Here's the after. And by the way, you can modify this. You can create a mask. That's all up to you. Now, whatever we just did, all you have to do is to hit record while you're doing that. So you need to go to Window and then Actions and just create a new action, start the recording, and do this exact process. And that's what I've done with the setting that has worked for me for most of the images. So you can download these actions by, again, checking the link in the description. Let's try it right here. Again, I'm going to tell you why certain actions are different, why there are plus signs for different jobs. We'll get to that later. But for right now, we have just created a basic action. This basic action just does 5 things: removing blemishes, dodging and burning, adding depth, cleaning up the eye vessels, or in other words, the veins in the eyes, and then adding contrast to the eyes. So if you just choose basic and play it, all those 5 things would be done automatically. I've kept sharpening separate because not always you need sharpening. Sometimes the images are already sharp and you don't want to add too much detail to it. So in this case, have a look, it's done. So here is the before, here is the after. Massive improvement. Now, on top of that, if you do feel like sharpening, you can just play the sharpening action. It's not a big deal, and it is sharpened. See, in this image, we didn't need sharpening. It is just too much detail. So that's why I've kept it separate. Also, if you wanted to do the basic and the sharpening together, we have this action that you can play. It will do basic plus sharpening automatically with one click. Take a look at this example. This image can use some sharpening. So we're going to play basic plus sharpen. And there you have it. This is such a massive improvement. Again, here's the before, and here, my friend, is the after. What I like about it is that it not only focuses on the face, but also works on the body. Have a look at it. Here's the before, here's the after. Also, you must have noticed that I've not included skin tone repair in the action. And there's a reason for it. 80% of the time it works flawlessly, but there are times that it doesn't. So you need to test your images and see how they react. Take a look at this example, for example. First of all, let's do a little bit of cleanup. So let's open up our actions. I've also created a cleanup action besides the basic, and it does 3 things: removing blemishes, dodging and burning, and adding depth. There you go. Let us take a quick look at the before and after. So here's the before, and here is the after. Massive difference. Now, let's press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E, and this time let's work the skin tones. Let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, and Retouch for me, Skin Tone. Now, of course, you can choose to have more or less of it. So I can increase the blending more or less. So you can choose. So in this case, I'm going to keep it at about 122. And you can also choose a soft light layer right here and hit Apply. Now, definitely, we need to change the blend mode of this layer to soft light. Now, take a look. In this case, it worked amazingly. Take a look. Here's the before. These areas were desaturated. If I turn this on, it adds that rich skin tone to those areas. Now, of course, you can decrease the opacity of this one as well. So I'm going to keep it at about 64. Here's the before, here's the after. It did a fantastic job. Even when the face is not showing, like in this example, it does a good job. By the way, I've created a separate action for skin tone correction, and also have an action for basic plus tone plus sharpen. Let's play that. By the way, tone is for skin tone correction. Take a look. Even in this case, it worked brilliantly. Take a look at the before and after. So here's the before and here is the after. Just look at the skin. So this area was absolutely red. There were patches here and there. Before, look at it. There was some desaturation, some oversaturation. But if you turn it on, all of it is improved. By the way, let's take a look at the skin tone layer. Here's the before, here's the after. Of course, you can decrease the opacity to your liking. In this case, I'm just going to keep it at 100 because I like the look. Now, you might notice some dirt in the backdrop. We'll get to that later. But again, here, my friend, is the twist. Let us play the same action right here and see what happens. Now, if you just look at the end result after batch processing, it is hard to tell. Again, here's the before and here is the after. This is already an improvement. And by the way, we have still not added the backdrop cleanup. We'll talk about it later. But for right now, let's look at the skin tones. Look in the face area. So if we turn off the skin tone layer and if we turn it back on, there isn't much of a difference. Take a look. This area was a little greenish. If you turn it on, it improves that a little bit. But in this area, it weirdly desaturates it. So here's the before. It was warm and nice, but if you turn that on, this area is kind of desaturated. Now, if you're working on image-to-image basis, this isn't much big of a deal. You can just select that layer, create a mask out of it, and just mask it out in that area by using a brush, flow at about 10%, and paint with black. You brought it back, no issue. But if you're batch processing, this can be an issue. And that is why I've kept the skin action separate. So if you wanted to create a system just with the basic, you could do it. If you wanted to create a system with basic and sharpening, you can do it. If you want to include the skin and everything, you can play this one, complete auto retouch. So according to your needs, I've created all of these sets. Let's talk about backdrop cleanup. It is a little tricky as well because not all images need backdrop cleanup. And if you apply backdrop cleanup in images that don't need backdrop cleanup, the AI might just remove things that you don't want to remove. In my experience, in all of the images that I've tested over hundreds of images. It has happened very, very rarely. And even when it has happened, it's very hard to notice because it's only removing things from plain or blurred areas. And that is also very rare. What I'm trying to say is in images like these, we don't need backdrop cleanup. But in something like this, we definitely do. And that is why inside of the actions, we have kept it separate. So here we have the clean backdrop action, but I wanted to show the controls to you as well. So for it, let's make a copy of the background layer. Let's go to filter, retouch for me, and then clean backdrop. Now I'm showing you this because we might need some masking and we need to find a way to automate it. So in this case, it has brilliantly removed most of it. So here is the before, here's the after. But if you zoom in, you'll notice something interesting. Take a look on the pants. So here's the before, here's the after. Look at these areas. These are also right here near the pockets. These are also softened as well. So now you have an option for auto masking right here. You can check it so that the subject is not affected. So let's try checking it and see what happens. So if we check it, a lot of the dirt also isn't removed. So how do we take care of this issue? Why not use the help of Photoshop? So right here, let's uncheck auto mask. Let it do what it's doing. And by the way, you can change the size of the dirt. So big dirt, medium dirt, and you also have fine dirt. See what works the best for your images. And of course, you can control the blending. So less, more. So in this case, I'm going to keep it at 85%. Make sure make mask is checked, hit apply. Now what can we do to prevent the subject? So here's the before, here's the after. By the way, it didn't do that on the subject. Anyway, if it did affect the subject, here's what you can do. You can select the background layer or any layer where you have the subject, and then you can click on select subject, come back to the background cleanup layer, and then hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the mask button so that that area won't be affected. Photoshop select subject masking is way superior at the moment. And that's what I've added in the action. So if you play the action right here for clean backdrop, it does the exact same thing. Just automatically. Take a look. It created that mask for you. It also cleaned the backdrop. Similarly, right here as well, we can clean the backdrop. So let's simply play clean backdrop. There you go. It's cleaned. Look at the dirt right there. Here's the before. See all the dirt. Here's the after. It's gone. Now let us talk about fabric. It's not always the case that we want to even out the folds of a fabric that the person is wearing. Even in this case, it is not much needed. And that is why I've created a separate action from it, separate from the basic. First of all, let's simply play the basic. There you go. Massive improvement. Again, here's the before. Here is the after. Now, if you ask me, if you look at the depth, I didn't want to add too much depth here. So we can create a mask. Take the brush, black as the foreground color, and erase it right here. Perfectly fine. And if you want some blemishes back, you can create a mask right here as well. And possibly get some freckles back right here. Now let's clean up the fabric. And for it, first of all, let's select the topmost layer and press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E to create a merged layer of everything. Now let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, and choose Fabric. Now you can definitely control the amount from here. I'm just going to keep it at 100, check Make Mask, and hit Apply. If you take a look at it closely, here is the before, and here is the after. All of these folds are gone. You can definitely control the opacity if you don't want too much of it. I'm just going to keep it at 100, and that is what the action is for. Fabric soften, Just play it and it will automatically do it. And it's also a part of complete auto retouch as well. So if you want everything, even fabric, you can just play complete auto retouch. It will do everything for you. So there you go. Done. Now, how do we batch process all of these images? There are 2 ways to do it. Number 1 is using the image processor, and number 2 is using droplets, the one that we previewed before, where all we have to do is drag and drop. Let's start with image processor. So right here we have our series of photos inside of image processor folder. The folder name can be anything. This is just for convenience. So inside of the image processor folder, we have all of these photos. Now inside of Photoshop, go to File, Scripts, and Image Processor. Here you can select the folder where you have all of your images. You can also use all of the open images that are in Photoshop. So I'm going to choose the image processor folder, hit OK. Now you can choose where to save it. So you can select a folder or save in the same location. For the sake of convenience, let's save it in the same location. You can save it as a JPEG. You can also save it as a PSD if you want. So you can have both these versions. And that is what I like about the image processor method. If I want only the JPEG, I can keep it. If I want only the PSD, I can keep it. I can change this later according to my project. And I don't have to think about creating so many droplets for different things. I can just simply choose an action that I like to apply to a batch of images. So make sure you check Run Action. We want to run Complete Auto Retouch and hit Run. It will automatically open all of these photos, run the action, and export it in the formats that you have chosen. Now take a look at the folder. We have 2 new folders inside it. We have the JPEG format. We also have the PSD format. So this is great if you want to just open up your photos after batch processing and edit them if you want to. So this gives you the flexibility of having both the edited version and the export JPEG version as well. The drag and drop method is also simple. All you have to do is to drag and drop all your photos into this application. Now, how do we create this? Let's delete it. Let's create it from scratch. Now, you might have noticed inside of Photoshop, I have this extra action called Droplet Complete Auto Retouch. And that is something that you have to create for your system, depending upon your location or the format that you want. Now, the only difference between Complete Auto Retouch and the Droplet is that there's a save function right there, and that's what we have to add. So you don't have to create all of the action all over again. All you have to do is to make a copy of Complete Auto Retouch or whatever action you want to create a droplet of. So let's make a copy of Complete Auto Retouch and let's just name it Droplet and also remove the copy. There you go, my friend. And we're just going to add another function right here. So select the last action, start recording, and all we need to record is File, Save a Copy. If you're using an older version of Photoshop that used to have JPEG inside of Save As, choose Save As. Let's go for Save a Copy. Make sure you choose JPEG right here, and you can name it whatever you want. You can save in whatever location you want. It doesn't really matter at the moment. We will change that later. For now, let's simply save it. Quality is fine, maximum, hit OK. Now, if you open up Save, you would notice inside of that, we have the format as JPEG, quality 12, and we definitely have Save a Copy and a location. We're going to change this later. Let's go to File, Automate, and choose Create Droplet. Choose the location where you want to save the droplet. So I want to save it in the droplet folder or the drag and drop folder, and you can name your droplet. I'll name it Complete Auto Retouch and click on Save. You can also create a Mac or a Unix version of it. So if you want, you can check that. But this is Windows, so that is checked by default and grayed out. Now choose the action. Definitely we want it from the set Pix Auto Retouch actions, and we want the action Droplet Complete Auto Retouch. You can choose to include all the subfolders. When you drop a folder full of images, do you want to include the images from a folder inside that folder? If you do, check Include All Subfolders, keep the rest unchecked. Errors, you can choose to stop for errors. Destination, choose folder, and choose the folder where you want to have the exported images. So we want it inside of Retouched Exports, select folder, and make sure you check Override Action Save As commands. Check that, it will tell you what it does. Checking that makes it use the saving command from the action. Hit OK, and now you can choose how to name the file. So this, my friend, is an example name. Let's remove all of it. So if you want the name of your exported files to start with retouched, you can type in right there. All right. And you can have a dash. The next thing I want here is the original name of the image. So let us choose document name. So if my file was the original name, it would be right there. And at the end, definitely we want the extension. So if it's JPEG, we want JPEG. If it's PNG, we want that. So let us choose extension. So it would be like that. If it's GIF, it's GIF or GIF, however you pronounce it, and hit OK. The droplet, my friend, is created. And if you just select all of these photos, drop it right there. You don't even have to open Photoshop. it will do everything for you. There is no doubt that this is hands down the best series of plugins that I've ever seen in the retouching world, especially when it comes to automatic retouching. And my words don't even have to justify it. You can get a preview yourself using your own images in the trial version. Check the links in the description and the details on how you can download them. One of my good photographer friends told me that he recovered the money that he invested in these plugins in less than one shoot, and he now uses that time to do more shoots, get more clients, and overall grow his business. This is important to know because if you are a beginner or a hobbyist and you don't generate any income out of it, please don't get it. I don't want you to waste your money because you're not a business. You're not getting a return on it. This is an automation tool that saves you time and therefore allows you to work more. So if you're interested in checking out or getting retouched for me, I've included some discount links and codes in the description. I hope I could show you something new, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you, my friend, don't miss any other feature tips, tricks, or tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.
Wake up, honey, I made you breakfast. Fresh coffee and bagels too. A new day is waiting for us. We got lots of fun stuff to do. Let's go to the zoo and feed